Hello again. Good morning. It's Matt Earl. We're going to talk about EVE Online. It's Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. Here with my pal Spod, Dr. Spod.
What
was that?
I think my push to talk's being funny. Hold on.
Yeah. You just uttered like a sound. It's like caveman talk. That was funny. All right. Let's dive in real quick on some stats here for most violent regions in the last 24 hours. Fountain tops the list. No surprise there. There is a war going on. 1,621 ships destroyed. 1,303 pods destroyed. That's a big number. Or I should say it's a high percentage of the pods, right? Delve is in second place. Again, a lot less than yesterday, but 892 ships destroyed, 664 pods destroyed. Esoteria in third. That moves up. It was in fourth yesterday. 493 ships destroyed. In Empire region, the Forge is dominating them all. And this despite Triglavian invasions. The Forge had 2,548 ships destroyed. About half of those pods were, or about half in pods. Second place, Lone Trek, 2,197. Respectable number. Think about that. That's more than Fountain. It's more than Nullsec. And then Domain comes in third with 1,473. The most active systems, well, in the last 3 hours, 250 ships destroyed in GPD5. That's in Wicked Creek. That's far away from any of the actual war that's happening in the southwest. Wicked Creek belongs in the south or southeast. Southeast, basically. But in second place, in the last 3 hours, you see some activity in ZXB, TAC VC. That's in Delve proper. 111 ships destroyed there just now in the last 3 hours. Over the last 24 hours, same place in Wicked Creek, that tops the list. And PNQY in Fountain saw 165 ships destroyed. That's in second place behind GPD5, which had that 254 that we talked about earlier. And in third place behind PNQ is GMagic. That's one of the home bases of Test as they invade. GTAC M4GK in Paragon Sol saw 184 ships destroyed. All right, Tama saw 310 ships destroyed in Lowsec. That tops the list. Tazy coming in at 174 ships. That's pretty good. That's Lone Trek. And most violent systems in HighSec, again, Jita is going to top that list. Well, this is interesting. The Forge had, in the last 24 hours, 2,500 ships destroyed, but only 600 of those are in Jita. So where's the other 1,900 ships? Don't understand. It might be, that might have to do with Triglavian security changes that have allowed people to PvP in HighSec without getting standing sit or destroyed. All right. Most violent systems in HighSec continues with a very special system that is Angimon, I guess. And that had 519 ships destroyed. That is special because there was another invasion. I think if we go to Kybernauts, we can see. Let me get past this warning sign that I can't read. Yeah, here it is. It is hit full liminality. And if I'm not mistaken,
that was... yet.
What's that?
You haven't learned Triglavian yet.
Yeah. This is in every shore. And I think what's interesting here is this was one of the first world arcs that has appeared, and I believe it was destroyed. And that would mark a first. These ships were untouchable when they first appeared in New Eden. They were part of, I think it was part 2 of Invasions. Maybe it was part 1, actually. So that would have been over a year ago that we started seeing these things. They disappeared for a while, and now they're back. These are the big triangular ships that are gargantuan, and they bring tons of invasion forces from Triglavians in. Essentially, it's the mothership. And it has recently reappeared, and now it looks like you can interact with it and even destroy it. I believe that's what happened if I read my information right, which makes it a huge deal. Let's have a look here. Well, the information is in the casual wrong channel. Yeah, here's some pictures. I'll grab those for you. You know, it's not war stuff, but it's pretty interesting. Let's try this here. So that looks like one of the motherships there. You see the giant triangle of ships coming out of it. This might be a better angle. We'll try this one. Again, not 100% certain of what its fate was. Let me just make some adjustments here. There. So yeah, that happened. I think it was Angimon, which was interesting as a blue star system. I think they do like the blue stars, yeah. Okay, it's the yellow ones that are every once in a while. Those are sometimes food. Anybody who has kids remembers all the time food and sometimes food. And so the blue stars are the all the time food. You can, Triglavians will attack those all the time. But they'll also go after these yellow ones sometimes. And for those of you that don't have kids, sometimes food is candy.
That's all the time food.
For some people, yeah. When you're a teenager, that's all the time food. Heck, when you're a young adult. All right, let's go back. Those are the stats. Let's see, most active systems for NPC ratting. This is kind of interesting because a lot of people are supposed to be at war. A lot of the ratting that usually goes on is stalled because people are busy fleeting up. Supposedly that's usually what happens, but in this case, Oasa is not slowed down. Maybe a little, but not really. I think they're between... They have 3 systems, which are basically, I'll highlight them for you, between 40 and 60,000 NPCs per day. That is not slowing down. And what you can see here from the top 10 list is that Delve and Delve regions totally shut down. Whereas Oasa and basically Fraternity and Pandemic Horde and PL... Those guys are all ratting away. That is a significant change. It will not influence this war in a direct way for some time, but it is interesting that essentially they have shut down Delve's ratting, probably mining as well, and it has not affected their ratting, which is also interesting because you would think that they would have less people to do that. So the longer this war goes, the more the economic engine for Delve remains shut down, the more they'll have to rely on stockpiles that they had as individuals. Remember, a lot of people left that might have stockpiled about a year ago when they were hit with blackout. So if they transferred that wealth over to somebody who kept active, then it's not an issue. But if they took off and took their money with them, that starts to become an issue. Because we know money leaving the game and entering the game, for the most part, in big ways, is players coming and going. Not necessarily what people make, but what people turn on when they come back or turn off when they leave, as far as wealth. So again, stockpiles and Delve, they have years of it. Who knows how big that is? It's a mystery. On the other hand, they're shut down. They're not making money. The people who are making money are Fraternity, PandaFam, and those guys. They're all still making money, or somebody's making money over there in their territories. Whether they get a cut or not, I don't know. So that's interesting in the perspective of economic warfare, attrition of ships, and long-term war. Whose benefit is it in? All right, let me go to some of the comments you guys have in chat. Ooh, thanks for a subscription, looks like. Oh, I meant to write thanks with that. I just wrote your name. Consider that recognition. I'm bad at this. Who's winning the war? We talked about that yesterday with Kilobee. No, actually, we talked about it Sunday when we brought out statistics to say who's winning the war. I think in all fairness, of course, no one's won the war. But if you had to say who's winning the war, you have to say, well, what are the objectives? And if the objectives are taking over space or holding space or preventing space from being taken over, then Pappy is clearly winning the war because they just took over Fountain, essentially. You can say it's not important, doesn't matter, or whatever, but it is a reality. And it's unavoidable because when Pappy can put 2,000 people into a system, Initiative can't compete with that, and they're not having enough support from Goon Swarm to bolster those numbers to get them higher. So there is no competition there. They're essentially in retreat, picking fights where they want to, but even fights that they pick, not the Initiative, but Goon Swarm appeared to have lost a fight recently that was a pretty good slaughter. So it's not going well for them. I don't see any way of spinning that. However, they may say, and they would be right to say it, the real war hasn't started yet for Delve, because nobody has penetrated into the region yet, and that is where the real strength of the entire empire is. So you can say that the war is a tie because they haven't taken over territory that is important to them, and I guess that's where you could leave it if you wanted to, or you could say that momentum is going in the direction of Pappy, the invading forces, because they've taken over one region out of 4. They also, Tess did a huge number on Quarius. We tweeted out yesterday what that progress looked like. I think it was 77. Let's have a look here at the stats. Yeah, they took out, I mean, there's been a few things that have been significant, and we'll tick them off right here. But the first one is, where is it? Yeah, way more than I thought. 288 iHub nodes. Okay, those are nodes. Those are not iHubs. So 288 nodes with 24 iHubs dead. I think that number is much higher than it was, than 24. This was written after the first few hours. But the iHubs let's have a look at that now. Quarius were just ravaged. Now, doesn't mean much it doesn't mean much if you just take over those things. You have to put down your own and take over the territory and start moving into it and all that other stuff for it to be like a significant territorial gain. These iHubs are, let's see what planned spawn security class. Vulnerable and structures. Yeah, so they took over, I thought 100 or many iHubs. I won't say the number because I'm not exactly sure. Maybe we can get it off a statistics list. Right. So the point is, I'll just keep it as ambiguous as possible. Test came in and wiped out a lot of iHubs in Aquarius. That happened a few days ago, over the weekend. And they don't expect to keep them, but it's a lot of grind work to recover those or put them back down, which the Imperium can choose to do, Goonswarm can choose to do or not. So we'll see what the counters are. It's a lot of money. Maybe money doesn't matter, right? Because people are very wealthy in this game, but it's also it's not just trolling. I think this is time spent. You've just had a ton of infrastructure permits wiped out, so you have to go back and put those back together. So it's really not such a small deal. It's not. Trolling is one thing where you get people to form up to, you basically hit their structure, they're alarmed, and like bees, they come out and they have to waste their time coming out when you never meant to destroy it in the first place. But this is different. This is taking out structures, destroying them, forcing them to be replaced, forcing you to go out there and make sure that what you put down anchors and is clear. That's a lot of labor. It's also a lot of money too, and it's a lot of time. So if you're busy doing that, you're going to end up being less busy doing other things. So one of the things happening in this is that the test is colliding with the Imperium in the south, causing them to, it's a stalemate, and Goonswarm's doing a great job of keeping them out of period basis. And let's actually look at the map when I talk about this stuff. I prefer the universe map these days. Yeah, so here are the three regions. Can't see the mouse, okay. Bottom left, three regions, Delve, Aquarius, period basis. They're being attacked from Paragon Sol, down here, and also from Catch. There's two fronts that are coming through, and then the third front's up in the north, but that's somebody else. So Test is colliding with Imperium, and it's pretty much a stalemate, but that is holding their feet down, while at the same time, Fountain is getting pummeled. And that may be one of the reasons that Fountain is collapsing so quickly. This is the third week of the war. We're now entering the fourth week of the war, actually. So that's pretty... it's not... We've seen things a lot, die a lot faster, but that was when, the war was already over and people knew you were not going to win, so people just took off. But this is a pretty fast collapse for a long war. If this was like an 8-month war, like the Winter versus Legacy War was, this is a pretty fast collapse in the first 3.5 weeks. To lose a region. And I don't think it's a throwaway region. I honestly think it's a important region. Those keep stars in it. It was the road that the Imperium used to attack the north. So for now, if you're the Roman Empire, this is your Appian Way just being completely disassembled. Okay, let's look at some more questions. What do you think, Spod? You have any thoughts? You could say no. Say,
What was war?
War is war. That is profound.
I don't follow it.
Yeah. Not your cup
Sorry,
of tea.
I can't help you.
Not your cup of tea. Oh, I like that. No, it reminds me that for all the war talk that we do, and we've seen numbers and interest, and a lot of people like hearing about this major war, because it is a major war. I think it's one of the biggest we've ever seen. That the population numbers for EVE Online haven't really spiked. So, all that talk about people coming back to the game, maybe. I don't see it in the numbers, at least the PCU, which is what we can see. Maybe the monthly active users is higher. Maybe the daily active users is much higher, but we don't see those numbers. But don't see a huge spike as far as population on at the same time. I think it's a low-intensity war, which means I think it's going to burn a long time. I do know that the ratting is continuing unabated in Oasa. We just saw that. So Fraternity, at least, is just chilling out.
Fraternity has basically an uncontested time zone. right?
That's a good point.
They can rat ad infinitum for a good majority of their time zone, maybe a little less towards the end of their U.S. time zone. But I mean, the only people that are really going to interfere with them are wormholers. Most of OASA is under some kind of NIP or, some kind of agreement to not kill their rats and not to kill their clackers and miners.
Well, that's a good point. Although wars tend to bring people out at odd hours. Like, you used to see a lot of time zone tanking, so you'd see a lot of battles happening in deep Australian time zone, which is the same as Chinese time zone. This doesn't seem that way. It seems like a lot of timers are set for US and EU time zone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be mostly EU time zone. A lot of the stuff that's been going on just because of the nature of the state of the game right now. I personally have seen a reduction in U.S. time zone participation across not only my organization, but other people that I've spoken to in terms of their organization as well, because of real life issues surrounding COVID and people losing their jobs and stuff like that. So I think that has, I don't want to say it has a huge impact, but I'm sure it has, some sort of impact on it. So.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know if we answered the question, who's winning the war. It's too early to tell. Momentum is on the side of the invaders. The Imperium, I'm trying to look for measures that would, I think their measurements are that we are not being taken over. So it depends on what you consider fountain or period basis or Aquarius, especially in this case. If they consider that their territory, their sphere of influence has been reduced. That's a fact. Their territory, I don't know if Aquarius was their territory. Fountain clearly was, if you consider initiative part of the Imperium, which they are. So, yeah, their territory is being reduced too. So who's winning the war? I think you have to say right now, Pappy's winning the war. This doesn't mean the war is over and they won. It doesn't even mean that this is a precursor for the future, because the real battle is yet to come. So you do see some, we haven't covered it in a while, but I think the logistics ships are being destroyed coming out of Jeddah that are helping out Pappy. I don't know if they're killing indiscriminately. Like, I thought they killed you, Spod, but you got killed by Triglavians. Shame on you. That's just shame.
Don't need to rub that in.
I know.
It was only the biggest lot I've ever had in my entire Reef career.
That's true. I never thought of that. That was a jump raider, right? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it about you specifically that I like picking on? I don't know.
I don't know. You're just an asshole.
Yeah, I think so. You bring it out. Sorry.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah. Okay, so Nick Bison says, the war is far from the Pandafam areas. They can and appear to be keeping non-combat characters there, ratting and mining while deploying combat characters to the front. That appears to be what happened, but I don't know if Fraternity has shown up on a lot of battles. The battles are not their time zone, but this is new, and that is that they're new information for us, that their ratting is going on unabated. I thought it would be disrupted in some way just because of the labor pool being pulled from that sort of thing, but no, not if they're in a different time zone. And also, there was supposed to be counterattacks coming from the Initiative or the Imperium through wormholes into their deep territories that are far away from the front. And Killaby was on yesterday saying that they've expected that, they've accounted for it, and it just hasn't registered. And I remember this being... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to... This was a big tactic that they used in the last war, but after that happened, CCP nerfed big time. They nerfed the... whatever that iHub upgrade is called. The Singularity something generator.
Generates more wormholes.
Yeah, so it generates more wormholes. You have a higher probability of getting a wormhole. So the way that wormholes work in K-space is that there are a static number of wormholes in all of like K-space in terms of like null to low sec to null, null to 5, null to 6, or null to wormhole essentially is what that is. And the way that it used to work is that it was essentially a wormhole static generator. And the way that wormhole statics work is that the minute that you roll a wormhole, a new one immediately spawns. And that was almost essentially what was happening with the class 5 upgrade of the wormhole generator. Now, the way that it's working is that it has to... I believe there's almost like a minimum amount of time before a new one has to spawn, and it seems to be anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour approximately from what I've seen in my testing of that particular mechanic. So I think that's probably what they're running into in terms of Imperium. They may have, I don't want to say that they probably did forget, but I'm not sure why they would try to use the same tactic all over again, because I don't see it as something feasible like as it was during the last war. Because what was happening the last time is that they had like 5 systems with that wormhole generator in it. They had a team of people just constantly rolling the holes until they found either a null to null or a null to low or something that was close to a strategic objective that they could reasonably move things through in order to get that to work for them.
Yeah, I don't know if they're using those generators. Okay, there's a couple of things here that are notable. One is there used to be nullsec to nullsec wormholes that were, which means that you basically had a gate into a different part of the map. Without going into an opposite system or anything. Oh, I got to wrap up. And those were nerfed because there was too many of those, and Sort Dragon took a big reputational hit for saying like, hey, PL's using those like crazy to invade us, and they're just making our life impossible. And that's not exactly what the story was, but that was how it got portrayed in the news, which was that, hey, CSM member defends his alliance using CSM to help CCP change the rules to benefit him. And that's not actually what happened, it turns out, but that's what got portrayed. What ends up happening, so that got nerfed a long time ago, and now they, I think they did ramp up wormholes, though, a year ago during Blackout. That was one of the changes that they didn't talk about, but was prevalent. And I think what's happening now is they're not going from nullsec to other nullsec. They're actually using wormholes to get through. So you have to go into a wormhole system, maybe a second wormhole system, and come out in nullsec. So it's a little trickier. Yeah.
So there have also been talks of them acquiring a nullsec static system. So they could have moved into a C3 null, which is generally considered to be uncontested territory. Most of the the low class wormholes with statics, so like a 2/5 null, which has a static 5 and a static null, are pretty much occupied. So I haven't heard any grumblings about that. But what my best guess is what they're kind of doing is something similar to what you said, which is that they're jumping into a wormhole and then trying to either scan a way around into where they're going, or just looking directly into the system that they get to see if they have a reasonable null that they can a nullsec wormhole that they can accommodate themselves with.
Yeah.
I would say, especially in high class wormholes, so that is class 5 and class 6 wormholes, there has been a significant, ever since the From Wormholes with Love update, there has been a significant increase in connectivity from high class to null wormholes. and they're just wandering wormholes that randomly spawn inside of the system.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this is there's a kind of a wormhole war going on among nullsec people who are fighting this war, and that is that you have, Killer B was saying this yesterday, they map out the wormholes as well. So where the FC for Initiative Pando might do that, he's been very good at it in the past, to figure out how to get to far off territories that are vacant right now and attack them as a counterattack to this war. The forces that are attacking Killer B and Pappy, they're also mapping those same wormholes, and they're closing them. They're closing them behind the fleet, which is a frustrating experience. So,
Rich, have you had any experience? Have you run into this stuff yet? I know you guys are doing contract work for out in Null right now. Have you guys had any experience or run-ins with these skirmishes and wormholes with the Null groups yet?
Skirmishes and wormholes, no, but I have been contacted about making use of our wormhole logistics and our mastery of wormholes. We've actually developed and perfected the use of drifter holes during our deployment here, something that we have been trying to do for quite a while. But so far we've avoided any real opposition in the wormholes, especially when we were moving ships and moving our fleet.
real quick, I only have like 2 minutes, Rich, since you just got here. I'll give you the last word. What's it like out there? You're out there on contract shooting who?
I am on the contract of the Pappy side to primarily go after initiative forces. I'm not formally blue to any side, and under most circumstances I could actually be shot at, but for the battlefield, the FCs have asked their line members to use some trigger discipline and avoid shooting us. What it's like out there, the push into Fountain has been quite fruitful, and we've had a lot of fun there. And due to the retreat of the initiative, we're evaluating what we can do next, because fighting into defensive territory is a bit more awkward now. But we've caused several great fights, and we're happy with what we've done so far.
Who hired you, can you say?
Contract came from Villy.
Really?
Yeah. Several other groups have also under contract too.
Yeah, there's quite a few nullsec static groups who are currently under contract participating in the war. I would say some of the more well-known names in small gang stuff have been the ones who have been contacted and have been the most fruitful with what they've been doing.
Yeah. Well, the last thing we'll say on this is we just explained kind of some of the momentum of the war. There's also added richness of wormhole stuff, which Tiberius talked about, and Rich just now talked about mercenaries being hired to also help out. And so there's a lot of texture to this war which I really like. It's not just one giant force attacking another giant force. There's a lot of what I would call breakpoints, things that can happen to break something up and make it more interesting. There's a lot of coordination and personalities at work here. So it's a very interesting war in that sense. What we're used to is a group like the Imperium or Pandemic Legion or Northern Coalition before that being able to just put down their super capitals and win the day. And I think we're in a different place with EVE Online, which is very exciting.
I will say that there are multiple people who are jumping at the opportunity to potentially deploy a capital into a fight, and they're always looking for a chance for something to escalate, particularly in their favor. And they're always looking for a fight for them to bring their fleets into. A lot of the FCs and the Pappy side, they're very energetic, and they want to pick these fights. They want to bring their fleets there. And dare I say, some of them even want to drop capitals. And we'll see what happens when the super capitals start appearing.
Okay, everybody. That's all the time we have. Unfortunately, I have to run. We have some things to do in real life. Gurgorin just arrived too, which is a bummer because he could really give us a lot of information on what's going on. We'll have to save it for tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Stay tuned. We'll probably send you over to Ron, and you can continue the day with him. Thanks for watching.